Hello. Today I decided to cover the follow-up from Fuso, the Nagato, seeing as I've finally gotten to that point on my alt account, Umalf. And the Nagato can feel a bit strange coming from the Fuso, because you basically go down from having those nice 12 guns to suddenly only having 8 guns. But then on the flip side, these guns are very large, they have really good penetration, they are quite accurate, and overall just very powerful guns to use. Of course, once again, the reload is going to be another quite jarring thing to get used to. You go from that nice, 28-second reload on the Fuso to 35 seconds stock, but once you get the B-hull you have a 32-second reload. So certainly something to get used to. But on the other hand, these guns can pretty much punch through anything. In fact, gun-wise, you don't have much issues being up-tiered at all. Now, right now, the matchmaking is so skewed that if you play T7, most of the time you're gonna end up against lower tiers, and worst case scenario is pretty much ending up against T8s. Very rarely will you ever end up against T9s. And Nagato actually deals with this quite well. Now, one thing you might notice though is that the Nagato has a significant amount of HP. In fact, you have 65,000 HP, whereas other T7 ships like Colorado only has 50k, and ships like Scharnhorst have like 53 or something like that. So that doesn't mean that you're actually that much tankier than them. In fact, I would say you're probably the least tankiest T7 battleship, because you're very squishy. You're quite easy to citadel, and in general your armor is quite weak. So don't be fooled by this large HP pool thinking that you're actually a very tanky battleship, because you are in fact not. But of course that doesn't mean you should sit back too much either. The HP is meant to be used, and when you fully upgrade the ship you end up having really good secondaries, pretty good AA. You won't reach the American tiers, especially in North Carolina, where the AA just goes nuts for the US counterpart, but your AA is quite decent, especially if you just turn towards the planes and so forth and focus them down. And the guns in themselves, even if you have few of them, if you land good penetrations on pretty much any ship, you will do a lot of damage. This Colorado gave me broadside 17 kilometers away. Okay, that was only one hit. Let's see if I can get a better example here. Because you can actually land a surprising amount of damage on these battleships really far away. You might see I'm trying to get a central roll. I'm seeing where they're pushing, where mostly battleships and such are pushing, and I'm moving there. And I see a lot of them are pushing down towards D, so I move towards D, where I'll be of the most use. You're fairly fast for a battleship, which is quite nice. Let's see if this would be a better example. This Colorado is still giving me broadside. With 4 front guns, there we go, 3 penetrations, 12.5k. So you should definitely go for the shots that you can take at long range. Of course you shouldn't sit there and just hope you'll be able to always land those, but of course take any shots you can on the way to your destination. Let's see, this Dunkirk is stopped giving broadside, but I think he's just a bit, I think I'm gonna hit the mounted. Try to slow down to get a good shot, but it's time to move on. Of course, this matchmaking, I'm up against T5 to T7, as I said, you end up quite often. Those planes strayed a bit too close to me, so they instantly got punished. And the Colorado decided to shoot back. Now, you should definitely not underestimate Colorados and such, and you should be very careful giving broadside to just about anything. Even Scharnhorsts with their 283mm guns can citadel you if you give them broadside. Your armor is very squishy, that's why you have so much HP. Now it looks like, I'm keeping an eye on this cube. Is he really going to push through? Yeah, he's actually going to charge me. Well, that's good, because then you'll actually get to see these secondaries. If a DD decides to do what this guy did, well, first of all, shoot your main guns, even if they're AP loaded. If you manage to get angled shells, unfortunate, I didn't get any normal penetration, they were all overpens. But still, a nice chunk of HP. I take him as focus target for my secondaries, and you can see my secondaries just open up once he gets into range. Just this constant hammering on him. just non-stop hammering from all this. And of course I turn away from him, because he's guaranteed to have torped. So turning away is the best option. You see he's launched all his torps at this point. So as long as I don't eat any of these torps, he's pretty much a non-threat at this point. He's literally a non-threat. I don't even bother with him anymore, because my secondaries can kill him, and he can't really do much to me at this point, because his torps are used. I mean, he can shoot at me, sure, but I'm angled so that his AP won't do much. In fact, I'm keeping an eye out for the battleships instead. This Colorado is about to shoot me, so I'm turning away from him to make sure I can dodge those shells. I only got 3 hits actually, but only one of them gave damage. That happens sometime. But more importantly, I dodged the shells from the Colorado, and my secondaries dealt with the Kiev. Usually just turning away and minding the torps is pretty much all you need to do to deal with DDs in the ship. Your torpedo belt is decent-ish, but honestly, if you can avoid eating torps altogether, all the better. Dunkirk is giving broadside. Now, any battleship giving broadside is of course a juicy target, but a Dunkirk especially, because they are extremely squishy battleships. They are probably the squishiest battleship. Like, they are even, I would say they might even be squishier than T5s. I would love to turn in and just rush him, but there's a kamikaze somewhere around here. So as I said earlier, turn away from any potential DDs, because if you can't turn in, right in and rush them, because you don't know exactly where they are. Turning away makes it very hard for them to land torps, because you have more time to react, because you'll spot the torps while you're already sailing away from them. Got a citadel on the Dunkirk. Now I'm turning in to hopefully only hit one. Still ate one. Okay, that's not too bad. But still, the minikaze is of course an issue for me here, because I constantly have to alternate my course and change and shift, and instead of just focusing down this Dunkirk that is giving me these juicy broadsides, still aiming for the waterline, hoping to score these citadels. But of course, when you really want those citadels, that's when you get one hit and one herb. Okay, well that's pretty typical, isn't it? Once again, I'm turning away in between, because I'm certain this kamikaze or minikaze, whatever it was, is still hunting me. I'm spamming it and hoping my carrier would finally spot him, but that carrier doesn't seem very keen on actually using his planes to spot. More focused on just, well, nuking random stuff. So I have to just constantly keep turning away. Sailing away, as I said, very good way of dealing with DDs. It's hard to land torps on a ship sailing away from you, especially for these DDs when they have like 6 km concealment and the torps are 7 kilometers. That means by the time, in order to torp you from stealth, the torps will pretty much run out by the time they reach you. As you can see here, he tried to torp me from stealth, but by the time the torps reach me, they will run out. So sailing away is always a good way of dealing with them. Of course, I keep hammering the Dunkirk. Finally getting some good hits in on him. He's been alive far too long, to be honest. The Cyclone is hitting now as well. Finally got the kill on him. Took long enough. Gonna see if I can kill off this Edison Atlanta and the kamikaze here. And this DD that has been ignoring any pleas for help. Is he really rushing into them? Really? A carrier is rushing into them? I'm thinking he might be a bot, because he's pretty much sailing straight at the DD and an Atlanta, which is not very recommendable. I'm trying to help him, and now when I know where the DD is, I can turn right in. When you know where DD is, you can turn right in, and basically you can anticipate the torps and you can turn into them, which makes it much safer. But when you don't really know exactly where he is, that's when turning away and just fleeing from him is far safer. But yeah, this Ryu is rushing. This carrier is rushing the kamikaze. Really? That is interesting. No way. He wrecked him. He wrecked him with his secondaries and he actually survived. Okay, that is pretty funny. That is legit pretty hilarious. He straight up... Okay, well, can't say you see that every day. The fact that it worked out is the dumbest thing. Okay, a Dunkirk. Now once again, The Dunkirk, very, very squishy, very easy to penetrate. But the issue, of course, here is you have to show quite a bit of broadside to be able to punish him. And the issue with showing broadside is, of course, at this range, at this close range, as I said, you are quite easy to citadel. So a Dunkirk might even be able to punish you here. Oh, and I got very unlucky with my dispersion there. Very unlucky. Only 4,000 damage from this range against the Dunkirk. That's pretty nasty. Luckily, I angled myself enough that his shells bounced. The Dunkirk doesn't have that strong guns, but if you manage to get that perfect broadside, he can definitely citadel a Nagato. So just gotta make sure you're angled when he's actually shooting them. And if he does what he's doing now, I just aim for the guns, hopefully trying to destroy them. Okay, dispersion not on my side once again. I'm not gonna let him... Oh, he's killing the cruiser? Interesting. Well, now I'm not worried about sailing past him and showing broadside, because he can't citadel me anymore. He should have saved his volley for this. Now, in this case, a lot of battleship players make the mistake if they keep turning right, like exposing their full broadside to the enemy, even before the turrets have turned. But you shouldn't do that. Keep sailing straight. He's right behind you now, and your armor is once again angled, which is of course optimal. My armor is angled only when, you see, I bounced his shells. Only when my turrets have actually finished turning do I start turning around. There's no need to start, in these brawling situations, a lot of people panic and they keep turning because they want to keep having you broadside towards the battleship. But if you do that, you expose your own broadside, and if in the case of the Nagato, where your turret traverse is quite sluggish, there is no reason to give him an easy citadel until your turrets have finished turning. So that's a fundamental mistake a lot of battleship players do, is they don't take into account the time their turrets need before they can execute certain maneuvers. Now I still have 40k HP. I only have one heal left though. Looks like we have taken the lead now, which is of course always good. It is a cyclone though, which is less good. I can see some battleship down here south, so I'm gonna see if I can go help them out there, if I can go pick a fight with him. Our carrier died, theirs is still alive. That can of course become an issue. I'm still debating on which side I want my turrets on, because which side I want to turn around, because I know the carrier is somewhere on my left, but it's very tricky to like decide which side he's on. York killed our Cleveland. Oh, spotted. It's not the... I don't get angles on him. It's the New York that spotted me. Now, New York at range is very easy to deal with. New York for Nagato at range is an exceptionally easy foe. But once again, once you get close, surprisingly, we get to its main issue, which is the Nagato's main issue, which is you have to show a lot of broadside to use all your guns. And when you show a lot of broadside, you're quite easy to pen and you're quite easy to citadel. And in New York actually has a fair amount of guns. Oh, and now the carrier is focusing on me as well. So now I have to do something. I have to turn into the torpedo planes, which is awkward, because now when I turn into the torpedo planes, I will naturally give broadside to the New York, which is something I don't want to do, but I am forced to do it. Yep, instantly I ate, what, 10k damage there? Because I had to turn into these torp planes. And I managed to tank the torpedo before it had time to activate. When they drop the torpedoes, they need time to activate in the water before they can actually deal damage. So if you turn into them, you block them before they have time to activate and they deal no damage. But this is... See, now this became a lot harder. Of course, I could, if I have good RNG, because now it's an RNG fest, kinda. And I just had... not the best RNG. Still should be in my advantage. Of course, I have the tier advantage. The issues here is I have no more heals left, no heals at all, and I'm once again very, very close to the enemy battleship. And when you get really close to the enemy battleship, it becomes more about how much gunpowder you have than anything else, because having a lot of having the HP and armor and such doesn't really matter as much as close ranges because he can just punch straight through it. In fact, oh, that was what, 14,000 damage? Pretty much I rest my case. He was able to deal 14k damage to me, the New York. And that pretty much highlights one of the issues with the Nagato that people have to get used to, is that if you're not angled, you are very, very vulnerable. You always have to be angled in this ship. If you're not, well, you're gonna have a hard time. Now, if I could just shoot down these planes so I get undetected. I have them as a focus target, these bombers. Okay, nice. I shot down the planes. Now I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop entirely because you see my back turrets. I'm giving my back turrets time to turn. This is something, as I said earlier, people panic. They turn before the turrets are ready, and I'm giving my turrets plenty of time. So when he pops around this corner, if he pops around this corner, if and when my turrets, basically the slower he goes, the more times my turrets have to turn, which is just great for me. I have no issues stopping here. I have no issues even reversing, just taking my time. Taking my time. My turrets have finally finished turning. Now I start speeding up. I even reversed until my turrets had time. Just give your turrets time. They take a long time, but it's worth you have so few of them. And holy god, that dispersion. That was from 3.3 kilometers. I was aimed right as his water line, and all my shells went into the water. All 4 of my shells went into the water. That just made this so much harder for me. I was hoping to delete him instantly there, but RNG had other plans, so this easy New York kill just became a lot harder. Okay, at least I got some penetrations there. Now I gotta turn hard in. Come on, where's that citadel I've been hunting for all game? Finally got the citadel on him. But that was a pretty good example of sometimes, even if you play a duel or like a battle with another battleship well, there can be unforeseen circumstances, especially with battleship RNG. But it's just completely random. You can just suddenly have the worst luck. Like that volley I had there when he came around the corner. I had my aims right on his waterline. It should have been pretty much an instant citadel when he came around the corner. But RNG decided to plunge all my shells into the water right below where I was aimed. And such things happen. It's just, when it happens, you just gotta, well, deal with it. Nothing else to it. And at this point, this basically secured us the win. We were behind on points until I got that kill. And, well, they say you have to survive for 2 minutes, but I honestly want to just hunt them and kill more. Oh, and now I spotted the Independence as well. But the game is going to end before I actually have time to wreck this Independence. Which is a shame, because I kind of wanted to break 200,000 damage. But I think my commentary is going to end with... Yeah, I won't have time for another volley. Well, 175,000 damage. That's pretty good still for a T7 BB game. Let's see how much... I remember I am wearing the Gamescom camo though. So that... Oh, I got a lot of XP though. That's probably one of those hidden achievements since I'm unlocking them now on my alt account. I already have them of course on my main. Got a nice chunk of XP. Damage roll. Yeah, you can see how many shells I needed to deal with him. Just a ridiculous amount of shells to deal with that New York. Such things happens. RNG is RNG. Overall, pretty good profit. Right, moving on to modules. Here they have actually streamlined. In general, they've made all this upgrading a lot better than they used to be for Japanese battleships. But it's still the first thing you should absolutely get is the B hull. It gives you reload, it reduces your reload time, it increases your shell speed, your turret traverse, it gives you a massive chunk of HP, it gives you AA, all of these things. It's fantastic. It's the difference between the B and the C hull isn't that large, but the difference between an A and B is massive. So I think you should get the B hull first, and then you should get the speed upgrade, getting that comfortable 26 knots of speed, and then you can get the C hull and start working towards the Amagi. Now, premium consumables, repair and heal, those are the ones I recommend. Main ornaments, aiming system mod 1, damage control, and damage control system 2. Now, rudder shift is 13.7, which I think is enough. I don't really like using rudder shift on battleships even. I prefer the tankiness. Of course, basics captain perks wise, basics of survivability, expert marksman, vigilance, advanced firing training, And honestly, I shouldn't be using basic fire training. I'm not certain why this captain has it, but I would rather have superintendent with those 3 points that I've unlocked. And then once you have superintendent, then you can spend points on, well, you can save for stealth build, which is pretty good, or you can just go manual AA, which is really good for pretty much all the Japanese battleships. But ultimately, mostly because they have these big guns, and the higher tier you go, the more of these big guns they have. Like you can see, they start amping up, and manual AA of course doubles the damage of these, so speccing into a full AA build isn't a bad idea either, since Japanese battleships are a popular target. Anyways, that was my Japanese battleship commentary. Hope you guys enjoyed it.